Hello y'all, this is Silenx and you're back in this series called Learn How to Make Static Websites and Not Be Miserable Anymore, I guess. Anyway, this is episode 4. Originally, it should have been episode 7 because I've already recorded 4, 5, and 6, but these all had some audio issues which I just couldn't solve, so I'm having to record all of them again, okay? And yeah, I've now resolved a lot of mic issues and now my voice shall be a little bit better if I didn't mess anything up. And one thing more that you might have noticed is now I'm using Windows 11. It's like I just updated today, like right just an hour before I made this video. I updated to Windows 11. This is a stable release and this is what I've been looking for. I was just looking for a stable release and now it's here, so I'm using Windows 11. There are a lot of cool things in Windows 11, like the terminal is now updated and I really like the way it looks because this is the type of terminal you might get in Linux OSs like Ubuntu and Arc OS and stuff like that. Now there might be a lot of people who might be thinking, what the hell am I talking about? And you just don't need to know anything about this. All you need to know is Windows 11 is quite cool. Like, it has some bugs, but it's quite cool. Anyway, let's just get straight into today's episode. In today's episode, we're gonna do some CSS. We're gonna get into CSS. We're gonna know why CSS is important in the first place. And also, I'm gonna teach you some more tags in HTML, which are gonna be a little bit useful, okay? So yeah, without any further ado, let's get straight into it. Anyway, like I told you in the previous episode, if you haven't watched that, please go back and watch it. It's quite important. So I'm gonna make my file main.html, and if you don't know what I'm doing, then you should go back and watch my previous episode. Now I'm gonna do shift and exclamatory mark, and then I'm gonna press enter, which will give us our boilerplate. I'll just type CSS #1, which means this is our first CSS tutorial, right? And I'm also gonna wait for a second. It's not increasing the okay. So there's one thing I also want to tell you is I'm gonna go into settings and I'm gonna type zoom. I'm not gonna teach you a lot about VS Code because that can be another video and I just don't want to leave a chance on a content video, like more content. So yeah. Anyway, you have to go into your settings. Here you can go to the settings by pressing this gear, go into settings, type zoom in here, and then click this thing. Now, when you will control plus, okay, wait for a second. Now, when you will control and then a wheel up, like mouse scroll up, then the font will grow like bigger. And this is what I've been wanting. Anyway, so let's get straight into like doing the CSS. So I was telling you that there are three main ways you can drop down CSS in your HTML file. Now those three ways are, either you can go inside of the head tag, like look right here, I am inside of the head tag opens here and then closes here. I am inside of the head tag and I'm gonna type style, and then I'm gonna press enter, and then this will open a style tag. Using this, we can write CSS within our HTML file, which is cool and all, but it's not recommended by me. Please don't do this. This will create a big headache. If you're making a really big website, then this will probably not help you. This will make things difficult. This will just make them quite like compressed and you will not be able to sort anything out later on. Anyway, the second way you can do CSS is by in the last episode, remember I taught you about div, so I'm going to use div. And the second way you can do CSS is by inline CSS. It means giving CSS particularly to a tag. And wherever that tag opens, you have to type style equals to and an empty string. And then inside of it, you can give the style. Like I can give it color of, say, red. And now this div is of color red, which means nothing because right now, I'm not going to get into CSS. I'm just teaching you how to get CSS down here in your HTML. So this is one way to get CSS. This is another way to get CSS down in your HTML. But both of these are not recommended by me because just writing CSS in the same file as your HTML file is becomes kind of messy. And when you're making big projects like my own project, which I'm again gonna give you an example of, I'm gonna go to my browser and gonna search out my website, and this is my website, and look at all of these animations. We can make all of these using CSS, and I promise you by the end of this course you will be able to make portfolio websites like this in like 15 to 20 minutes. Like, this website didn't take me a lot. Okay, so we can do all of that using CSS. And the thing I was getting on was, when you're making such big projects like this, you will need to write CSS outside of your HTML like thingy. Okay, imagine I have a lot of divs here, right? I am gonna copy and paste it. So imagine we have a lot of divs here. Now what would you do? You have such a big HTML file, you cannot write CSS right here, right? You wouldn't like to write CSS in the same file. It will create mess, and that is what we don't have to do. I'm just gonna zoom in so I can see myself. Anyway, so that is why you need the most optimal solution, which is to link another CSS file inside of your HTML file. Now I'm gonna just tell you what that means. Now create another CSS file in the same folder as your HTML file, and I'm gonna name it style.css. Now see how I put the extension .css after the name style. That is what you have to do in order to create a CSS file. And also notice, as soon as I did that, this logo just came up. This is a logo provided by VS Code itself. And if you are ever like writing the extension wrong, like you just wrote C, the logo will change. So make sure your logo matches with my logo, which is this one. Now you gotta press enter, and this will open the style.css for you. Now I will push. Now if you grab the style.css and drag this to this side, like any side, VS Code will open them both like side by side for you. Anyways, I did this so that I can tell you how to link this. Now remember how our CSS file is in the same folder as our main.html. So what we can do is link, we can type this link tag and then colon CSS. And now you see I'm getting autocomplete. I'm going to click on this, and now we have a tag. This is how you link a CSS, an external, which is an external CSS file to your existing HTML file. It says link and then rel style sheet. I don't know what this rel means. I never needed to know this. It just exists for some reason. You can probably Google it, or it's better if I Google it myself. What the hell is happening? So I have like made my taskbar transparent with an external app. So I guess that's why it's bugging a bit. Like if I take my browser down, everything just goes away. Anyway, that's not something I wanted to tell you. I wanted to search, what does rel mean in HTML? Now look, there's no shame in actually just Googling anything, okay? If you become a really big developer, while I was making this website, there were a lot of things I had to Google, okay? I had to Google how to like how to get CSS down for like this transformation, like rotating CSS. I had to Google a lot of things, and it's not possible to remember each and everything every time. So if you're just Googling something, it's just fine. You just don't have to be ashamed of it. You don't all I'm trying to get down on is you don't have to be ashamed of yourself if you're trying to Google something. That is what Google is for. Anyway, I'm gonna get into any website, and this is my favorite website, by the way, W3 Schools, to get any kind of new knowledge down. While I was learning C recently, I used this website a lot. And now you see rel attribute. Okay, rel means relationship, so that clears everything all. Like, I can now explain it to you what rel means. So rel means relationship. Rel is a short form for relationship. What this link tag does, it's something rel tells it. Like, link comes here and says, what is my relationship with this file? And this rel attribute says style sheet. This file is in style sheet, and that is all you need to know, that you're linking a style sheet using this line, using this tag. Now this means you have actually linked this style sheet with your HTML. Now if you want to write in the CSS, you can directly write here, and the effects will be seen here as well. Now, one thing you might have noticed that I linked this thing inside of head. Now, it might have worked if I might have like linked it outside of head or after the body. It's fine, but you have to link this thing in the head tag, because the head tag loads before the website actually loads. So you would want your CSS to load before the actual website has loaded. Like imagine the website's skeleton has loaded and after that the like makeup loads. That's not something you would want to do. You would want to load that makeup first and then the HTML skeleton, so that you can like instantaneously apply makeup to your skeleton so that you can make it look good. Anyway, we're gonna write our first CSS, so get ready. Now, if you're wondering what I did to make the code look like this, like first it was giving me scroll bar and then I pressed something and now it just isn't giving me any scroll bar. I pressed Alt plus Z and this makes Visual Studio Code do this thing. I don't know what it is called, but it does something. Anyway, we're gonna write our first CSS. So we're gonna use, first of all, we need to open the live server, right? And if you don't know what live server is, then it means you haven't watched my previous videos, which you absolutely should. It's not a long video like this one, and you absolutely just go and watch it. I don't know what's going on. It's 3 in the night, so don't expect me to not stutter, okay? I'm gonna open the live server. Yes, allow the access. Because I've like installed new Windows, it's asking me for access. This won't be happening with you if you're doing this for the second time. Anyway, I'm gonna open the second browser and I'm gonna open my VS Code. Now, this is our website. Now here you can see the title is CSS minus, or what do you call it? I don't know. Minus #1. And that is what is written in the title as well. So you can say that this HTML is linked with this page now. And now I'm gonna write a div, because div is the only thing I told you. Now this is the div. Now how do you tell the CSS file that you want to apply a color? Let us assume that we want to apply a border to this div. How will you tell the CSS? Like the CSS doesn't know that this div exists. We will do that using something called identifiers. Identifiers in HTML are classes and IDs. Now, there's a major difference between classes and IDs. So look, imagine a classroom, okay? Imagine a classroom. I really have a good example for this. Imagine a classroom. In that classroom, all the children can be specified with that classroom's name. Like, I can specify a child from that classroom saying that that child is a part of that classroom. But all of the children of that classroom can be specified like that, right? I can call all of the children out of that classroom and just say that these are the children out of that class. But what if I want to specifically call out only a single person? What if I want to differentiate each and every child from themselves? Then I will use something like roll numbers. Imagine like in your class you have two people called Michelle. I don't know if I'm writing the spelling correct. I'm just gonna write Alex. And there's another person called Alex. Alex can be two people, but their roll number can be different, like 9 and 10. These are the two different things. Roll numbers are like IDs. I don't know. I live in Asia. Things are different. Anyway, okay, so it basically means that if I make another div, I can give it a same class, but I cannot give it a same ID. Like I will give it a class, say box, and I will give it an ID called first. I'm just very bad at naming. Sorry, first box. I can give the other div the class box2. I can do this as well, you know. I can give two different elements the same class, but I cannot do that. I cannot do the same with the ID. Now, if I did this, it won't give me an error, and it'll probably work. But you're not supposed to do this. This is absolutely discouraged to use the same ID for two different elements. So we're gonna give it a different ID. Call it second box. Now these two have different IDs. Now, using this class and using this ID, we can mention this div inside of our CSS. But now, how do we do that? In order to mention a class, you first have to type a period, and then you have to type the name of the class. And then you have to give these type of curly brackets, and then you have to press enter. And this is how you mention a class. Now, if I do this class, both of these divs, I'm going to write some content inside of them. I am the first div. And I'm going to do this for the second div. I'm going to copy this entire line. Copy. And then paste here. And then I'm going to write second here. I am the second div. Now, both of these div will have the class. So whatever CSS I provide here in this class will be applied to all of the divs, all of the elements which have the same class. Hope you understand that. And if you didn't, just go back a few seconds and you will get it. It's not a big deal. So I'm just going to save it. And you see how the page automatically reloaded. Now I'm going to provide some CSS to them. I'm going to say, now you're gonna see your first CSS property, which is border, like 1 pixel, solid, and then red. And this is how you applied your first CSS in CSS. Very good, Silenx. Anyway, I cannot find my Visual Studio Code. Anyway, so this means that we have applied our first CSS. And there's another CSS I want to tell you about, which is margin. I'm just gonna type margin 1. I'm gonna write margin 10 pixel. Now I expect you to know what pixel mean. Pixel is a type of display unit. Each box on your screen is called a pixel, and your screen consists of like millions of pixels. And yeah. So first of all, we have seen that because we had applied the same class to both of these divs got the border red. But what if I use the IDs? In order to mention the IDs, you first type pound, then the name of the ID. Like I'm just gonna type first box, which is the ID of the first div, and then I'm gonna do the same curly brackets, and then I'm gonna give it a color of blue. Okay, so only the first div will get the color of blue, and what color does is it gives a color to this context, like this text inside of it. Okay, so I'm gonna save it, and then you can see. Wait for a second, I didn't save the CSS file. Make sure you save both of the files before actually testing. Now you see only the first box got the blue color. And if I do that with the second box as well, like I'm gonna type second box, and then I'm gonna give it a color green, then it will work too. Now this has a color of green, if you can see, and this has a color of red. So this means now you know how to apply CSS to your elements in HTML. Now in the next episode, I'm going to teach you about some more HTML tags. I taught you CSS before actually teaching about more HTML tags, because the HTML tags I'm going to teach you about are like h1 and then image and then a. These are the tags I'm going to teach you about, so they require some CSS so that I can show them to you, like they can be visible. Like here, the div were visible because I gave them a border. If I wouldn't have gave them a border, they wouldn't be visible, like, right? You wouldn't have been able to see that div existed, right? So that is what I mean basically. In order for me to actually showcase you what I'm doing, I needed CSS, and that is why I taught you CSS before actual basics. So now, at least now you know how to do CSS, so that's a plus point. Anyway, that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching till the end. If you have watched, obviously, I am not providing any of this code for now because I don't really have a thing. I don't really have a system through which I can apply, give this code to you. But if my channel got like a decent amount of subscribers, even if it got like 10 subscribers, then I will start giving out code. And yeah, because I know that there are people who want code, who need code from me. And yeah, that's all for this video. I'll meet you guys in the next episode, which will be episode 5. I'll meet you guys in the next episode. Till then, take care of yourself and family. Silenx signing off.